Welcome to a Squared Conversation, where I'll be having discussions with impactors and community drivers in the Philadelphia running and fitness scene who inspire all of us to show up for our community authentically. I'm your host, Aaron Nixon. Join me and a special guest each episode as we dive into the who we are, why we show up every day for those around us, unpacking beyond the surface conversation by welcoming vulnerability, love, and grace. Everyone, welcome back to A Squared Conversation. I'm your host, Aaron Nixon, and today I have Josh Perez, founder and leader of Swagga House Run Club. Josh is one of the kindest, motivational, courageous stand-up guys we all know in the Philadelphia running community. He was awarded this year by Fox 29 the You're Awesome Award. And when he is out running, hosting a group run or run event, or dropping into another running club, you'll find him getting the attendees energized by chanting, "Run community, all love." Please welcome everyone, Joshua Perez.
I sometimes struggle with that because I hear all these things and I'm like, are you talking about me? So thank you, Aaron. I'm truly humbled and I'm just so thankful to be here.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you.
Dude, of course. I'm so happy that we're able to do this. I told you today, just be prepared to just receive so many flowers. So you have your vase with you?
Thank you.
But you always do a really great job every time I see you of just checking in with me. And you always ask me, Aaron, how are you doing today? You know, we started talking about like our lives, but the first thing you ask me is how you're doing today. So I have to do this in return for you. Josh, how are you feeling today, my friend?
I feel good. I'm humbled and honored to be here to have this conversation with you. And I feel great. I feel amazing. You know, every day above ground is a good one. So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel that. And you look amazing too.
Thank
I love
you.
the fit. The shoes look good. Style and profiling. Kind of recapping the Philly 10K because we both did it on Sunday. So I kind of wanted to hear your experience because I feel like it was a great day for PRs. So many people PR that day. The weather was good. How did you do?
I did great. I actually, if anyone that knows me knows that I don't like to have a training program, only because I think that I get so much out of being outside, being active and running, mental health wise, like the escape that it provides for me, gives me time to self-reflect, self-evaluate. And I actually stuck to a plan this time and I actually completely executed it. So it was amazing. I ran the Philly 10K 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And I PR'd this year, for the Philly 10K.
Let's go. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. And the last 2 years I wasn't able to attend only because I was in Puerto Rico participating in the Lola Challenge. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the PR.
Thank you.
Once again, I feel like it was a day of PRs for everyone. I was able to PR. I didn't do it last year. The Philly 10K is one of my favorite races. I just love the energy, the festival after, like the live music. And it's one of the races that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the only race that really runs through South Philly outside like the Broad Street. Dude, the energy there is so palpable and it's so vibrant and everyone cheering everyone on, like the spectating is just high level of energy. High level.
Yeah, and I think that everyone from the Philadelphia area and surrounding areas is there as well, whether, they're volunteering, participating, or just being out there cheering, marshalling, whatever it may be. And it's just like a big family reunion of the running community of the Philadelphia area and surrounding. And, the course is amazing as well. I mean, you're going past, landmarks like Pat's and Gino's, up Washington Ave, South Street, which is like, it's the heart and soul of that area. So it's amazing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it really is one of my favorite races. I want to say the Philly 10K and newly the Rocky Run. That's another one of my favorites, which I'll be doing this year. I think I'm going to be doing the Italian Stallion.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. But I just had to get the Philly 10K in. If there's any race I'm doing throughout the year, it's definitely going to be the Philly 10K.
Definitely.
And it's because of people like you who show up and just motivate. Like I remember seeing you. I think I saw you before we started racing. Yeah, before we started, and you just gave me like this huge hug and let me know like you got this, Aaron. And I went back to my corral. Like you were ahead of me with the corrals.
You could have been up there with us too.
It's funny. I have this thing where I need to be kind of like the back of the pack. I don't like being at the very front.
Right.
But yeah, dude, I just want to let you know, like, kind of like giving me that send off to let me know that everything was going to be okay along the run. And like, Aaron, this is your race. You got this. It really, really meant a lot. So I
I
appreciate you so
appreciate
much,
that.
dude.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we're there for, man. Just to show love to one another and
Yeah.
support. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, diving in and speaking of, showing love, I kind of want you to just tell me a little bit about like your running journey, right? Like, how did you find running? How did you fall in love with that sport? Like, what was the thing that kind of led you to finding that movement?
So, prior to doing any distance running, I was into, I've played baseball all my life. I was always active, but, and baseball was like, my dream was to be a professional baseball player. But I didn't pursue that in high school. Being raised by my grandmother, I had to get a part-time job after work. So I couldn't really chase that dream the way that I wanted to. As I got older, I was always into fitness, and I was doing like the Spartan races, Battle Frog, Savage races. And along the way, someone that I worked with, Dante, and I'm sure we'll touch on Dante. Um, I was just like, yeah, I ran 12 miles, and so we were talking about, I didn't know what the distances were. I'm like, he's like, yeah, that's not a half marathon. I'm like, well, it's almost a half marathon.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're stopping and you're doing obstacles and you're waiting for your team. It's not. And I'm like, so I felt like that was a challenge a little bit. So that was kind of a little bit of an introduction into it. So quite a few years later, I'm still into it, and it's just an amazing journey. Just I can't put into words what running has done for me personally, and some of the rooms that it's put me in, some of the relationships. And it's never about the destination. It's about the journey. It's who you become along the way. And it's also about the relationships that you make. For instance, this relationship that you and I have as well. So I'm just so grateful that, running found me.
And getting back to like doing those Spartans, you're like, hey, I know it's not a half marathon, but it's a half marathon for me. Like, you don't understand like the work I put into this.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
But once I started to run, I'm like, man, like nonstop is completely different than, running, a 3/4 of a mile, half a mile to the next obstacle. So yeah, I understood what Dante meant back then. I didn't, but now I do. Definitely.
Getting to running like nonstop, is there something that you do, like, that you still do Spartans?
I'm actually supposed to do the Spartan Sprint at Citizens Bank Park at the beginning of September. Yeah, I've done that probably 3 or 4 times. I'm supposed to partner up with Men's Night Run Club.
Nice.
And I jumped on their team. And so those guys, they have an amazing thing going over there. So I'm going to be joining them. So I'm making a return to doing them. But I just, what I get out of distance running, just the therapeutic benefits of it and the mental health benefits. I don't think that I would ever go back to just doing the obstacle courses as much, because I'm afraid of risking any injury. Then I wouldn't be able to do the distance running. So yeah.
I'm kind of curious, because you find your community, you find people who resonate with you, you hear their stories, you build and you foster that very natural, organic relationship. You start to create that vulnerability, right? So shifting into running and doing like longer distances, what were some of the interactions that you were having with people that kind of continued? What were those moments for you that allowed you to increase the distance and feel comfortable to increase the distance in your running, and also the community?
I think my competitive mindset at first was a part of it. Like, someone would jump on the Nike Run Club app and be like, oh yeah. And they were like, yeah, you've done, 10 miles. Now I got to do 12. So I got to up you. And I think that started that. I used to deal with that quite a bit with Chris, but I think the competitive nature, but then also, running has done so much for me as far as the mental health, and I'll say that over and over and over. But I think one of the things that you're in your natural state. There's no time for scripted answers.
Yeah.
You're out there, you're sweating, you're running, your heart rate's up, you're fatigued, all these different things, you're thirsty, all these different things, you're dehydrated, but you're pushing. And you're just having natural communication, natural conversation, and you're both in the struggle together. but at the same time you're being so honest, because there's no time to make up like the politically correct answer. It's like
Right.
it's like conversation in its truest form for me.
Yeah.
So I think that also helped along the way as well.
Yeah. And to your point about like you only have to be like very honest, and you can't be politically correct. It's like we're sweating, we're out of breath. And it's like if you ask me a question, I'm like, I can only be honest with like, yeah, like I'm not feeling it, or this is where I'm at in my life. And you and I have gone on runs together.
Yes.
And each time that we run together is always a very honest, very raw, very vulnerable conversation. And that's one of the things that, I do enjoy about showing up to a Swagga House run, and also just about who you are as an individual. Just so much love there. And I want to thank you for just holding space and creating space for not only myself, for people around you, your community, to just show up as the most authentic self, to have that radical vulnerability, and to be able to lean into that, right? You have created that with not just yourself, but all the other running clubs too. It is really inspiring. It's empowering. Dude, people get out there and they feel the message. Your message resonates with so many people. And one of the things you also say, and I'm going to ask you about, where does that same run community all love come from? But, and I know we were talking about this before we actually started, and me getting the word messed up, but normalizing barrio running.
Barrio running. Yeah. You've gotten a lot better since the last few episodes. Yeah.
I was just so worried about making sure that I say it correctly.
You're
but I'm
good.
like,
I know exactly what you mean, and I know it's I know you're trying your best. So
yeah,
but you did well.
Thank you. How did you normalize that type of running for yourself? Because I know it means running in your community, running in your neighborhood.
So barrio is neighborhood. A lot of people associate it with the hood or the ghetto and things of that nature. I grew up in North Philadelphia. And to be honest with you, where I come from, like, character is almost carved out of concrete. Almost, it's a hard place to grow up in. But when I was younger, it's funny because you see things that really inspire you as a kid, and you never forget it in the hood. And the one thing I remember during the crack epidemic, and this is like, it might sound like it's off topic, but it's really not. There was a group called UNAD, United Neighbors Against Drugs. They would march against drug dealers who were selling crack in the neighborhood. And this was tearing families up. It's well documented and everything. And they would like take over the drug corners. And I remember that, like, I was like, wow, they're doing this with no fear. And, these were people who were ruining the community and ruining families, and so many lives were destroyed because of this. And I just remember that, like, all my life. I remember United, and they marched with hard hats. And I remember, I'm like, wow, they're in my neighborhood. They care, and they're marching with a purpose. They're standing up for what's right. They're standing up for the people that, who are hiding inside, that don't have a voice. And I just felt during my runs in the neighborhood, I just say, these areas don't show up on Strava. And then I would hear this word inclusive, like, just, it's so overly used at times. And if we truly want to be inclusive, we have to, the people who are at, there's someone that was a Josh that grew up in the North Philadelphia area, that's out of his window looking and seeing people running by, and that curiosity sparked. And I just wanted to be a part of that, just being that UNAD for someone else in the running space. And just because you have to meet people on their home turf sometimes. Before we started, over 5 years ago, before we started Swagga House Run Club, Ron and I, who's Ron Pichardo, who's the owner of Swagga House Tattoos and the creative mind behind things, and he's a co-founder as well. He and I took a trip to Washington Heights. We ran with Rue Crew. And this is right before, the idea is like, we want to start a run club, this, that, and the other. And we went to Washington Heights, and, Heck and those guys were just running in the neighborhood, and people were out outside of their windows, just like, just cheering them on. And I'm like, this is the hood. Like, we can do this too. And, the more that I ran in the neighborhood, the more like people, would just inquire about it and things of that nature. And if you truly want to be inclusive, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to, some people aren't going to feel comfortable going to Center City and running in a in a place where they're not familiar, or where they feel as though they don't belong.
Yeah.
So, that's really how the whole movement, I think, started with normalizing barrio running.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you define for Swagga House Running Club, and even just for yourself, inclusivity?
So The one thing that I did, we only host one monthly group event, and I renamed it group event because I wanted to make sure that walkers and people who were joggers or people who weren't as experienced would still feel as though they're a part of it. Yeah. When you say run event, that kind of isn't inclusive, right? So we changed it to group event, and we only host one so that we can support other groups along the month as well, during the month as well. Another logo and motto that we go by is we start together, we finish together. So if you have someone who's faster, I preach all the time that a 17-minute mile is the same distance as a damn 6 or 7-minute mile. Mm-hmm. So if you either get there before me, I'm going to be thirsty, have something for me to drink. If not, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So, so I think, with that being said, that's, it's about the message and how you promote it, because, people always, I spoke to you about this before. People, they forget what you say sometimes, but they never forget how you made them feel. And I remember way before this run, before Swagga House Run Club was created, I showed up to a run club. I never ever named it. And the one person came up to me, didn't ask my name. He just looked at me and said, "Hey, what's your pace?" I was the only Hispanic there. And I just felt out of place. And of course I never showed up again. And it was like, dude, like, you didn't even like say, what's your name, or, hey, I got your back, and I remember that. And I never want anyone to feel that way if they come to a Swagga House Run Club event. So, and I don't think anyone should feel that way.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter the pace that you are. You don't lead with that. And asking someone like, hey, like, what is your pace? It almost feels exclusive in a way. Like, hey, if I'm not like, doing like a 7:37-minute mile, or I'm not doing like a 5-minute or 6-minute mile, it's like, I can't show up here. Right. One of the things that you do along your group runs, you will check in with those front runners, the middle, and the people at the end. And I think that really goes a long way. When you think of completing a race and you have like the elite runners that start at the very beginning, and you have those people who are like very, very fast. They're going for that PR, they're going for that time. But then you have the back of the pack. They really need that motivation. They really need that spectating and, the round of applause, because they've been going for quite some time. And it's like, even if it's just completing a 5K, you still make sure to check in with everyone. And I really do think that you do an amazing and incredible job with making sure that inclusivity is at the very front of conversation for Swagga House, and also making sure that people feel that vibe too.
Thank you. And that's exactly what, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
To be inclusive, it's about it's about different communities coming together. That's real inclusivity. The races, the different social or economical backgrounds, different educational classes, different paces, all these things that's what truly inclusivity is.
Yeah. And feeling comfortable to just be yourself. Be your most authentic
100%.
self.
Be 100% yourself. And, we get people who will reach out and it's like, hey, what do I have to do? And, just show up, bring your energy. That's it.
Absolutely.
Are there any fees? No, just show up, bring your energy, be yourself. And let's just be honest. There's times where you're at your best, and then there's days where you're not at your 100% best, but you've given the best that you have that day, and that's okay. That's your authentic self.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. It's just love and support, community.
Yeah. And being able to appreciate when for yourself, and giving yourself permission to be able to show up at whatever best that you are that day, right?
That's it.
If it's 100%, if it's 50, if it's 25%, and being able to lean into your community and realize my community has me. And then you get that recharge. Okay, now I'm at 100%. I was at 25. I got that extra 75 today. Definitely. It feels good.
Yep.
Josh gave me that extra. You gave me that extra 75% today.
Yeah, definitely.
So getting to Swagga House and that idea and forming that, right? And I kind of want you to, because you and I have chatted, I think the very first time that I met you was at Philadelphia Runner.
Yes.
Yeah, you came into the store.
Yes.
And at that time I was, very new kind of like to the running scene. And I had just published an article in like the Win magazine.
Yes.
Where that was kind of like, I don't want to say coming out story to like my running community, into like the running world, but it was more so allowing people into my truth. Right. And just sharing that with you guys, because I'm like, if this is my community, and I'm enjoying like the company of like the other runners around me, they should know who I am. I can't put up a facade, like being very authentic and genuine. So I had published that article, and I talk about how running pretty much saved my life, from wanting to commit suicide. And you were like, hey, I want to read it. And I was so I was very nervous because I'm definitely at that time in 2022, I wasn't someone who really kind of necessarily enjoy, you know, how you were like, hey, we're going to have this podcast, and kind of undervaluing your power and your capability and your strength. I think at that time I wasn't able to, I had published it, but it was nerve-wracking to have other people read it. I'm like, okay, I accept my truth, but will other people accept my truth? And when you were like, I'm going to read it, I was like, are you sure? You know, I was like, you don't have to, but you were like, Aaron, I'm going to read this. And I remember you even sent me a message after. You were like, hey, this is such a powerful story. People need to hear this. But getting back to like forming Swagga House and, you know, just that love and forming community and meeting people, right? I kind of want you to chat about your friend Dante and kind of how that really sparked you know, the Swagga House movement, and for you to go ahead and partner with Ron to really get that off the ground.
I always tell you that my pain became my purpose, which became my passion. And you know, Dante was someone I considered a son. He and we had an amazing bond. You know, he knew my family, my wife, my daughter Jocelyn. He constantly checked on her, things of that nature. But this June 7th of 2019, he committed suicide. And when we talked about it gets hard to talk about sometimes, but you know, I'll do my best to hold it together. We at the end of the Love Run, he got me into doing half marathons. I did quite a few. At the end of the Love Run, I'll never forget, the endorphins were going, and I called him up. He was nursing an injury. You got to keep in mind, Dante's 20 years younger than I am. He ran cross country. So I called him up and I said, hey, listen, I said, my exact words were 26.2 ain't shit. And so he said, oh, you must have had a good race. And I said, yeah, I killed it. So the next day I get to work. The Love Run's on Sunday. So that Monday I get to work and the endorphins are gone and everything. And he's like, hey, we're signed up for the Philly Marathon, November 2019. And now I'm like, oh, it just got real. So, you know, sadly, 2 months after that was when that tragedy took place. And I just had to stay true to the promise I made to him. So for 5 months, but I shared the story with Ron. Ron had met Dante previously. And Ron's like a brother to me. He said, look, I know what you're going through. And, you know, I want to help you fulfill the purpose. I know you're running with a purpose. And Ron, keep in mind, Ron couldn't run a mile without stopping. So at that time, and we just went on this journey. It was like a mental journey. It was a grieving process. And along the way, that's when I found my purpose. I said, wow, the Black and brown community are really underrepresented out here on the trails and at different organized runs. So for 5 months, it just became a therapy session, not just for myself, but for Ron as well. Ron's a very successful business owner, but Ron has 3 children with special needs. A lot of people don't see that side and the things that he has to deal with. So you had a tattoo artist and myself, and, you know, we come from different backgrounds as far as our professional careers, and there was no ego. There was nothing there. It was just raw, unscripted, real connection and conversation. But this, you know, for 5 months, it was just our therapy session. And during this time, that's when Swagga Out, you know, a run club came to mind. You know, I got to get this message out to people. And I didn't want to do it in just the Black and brown community. I wanted to be inclusive. I wanted other people from other walks of life to get to share our stories with one another and get to learn each other and just, you know, just bridge these gaps and build this community. So we successfully ran the Philly marathon and completed it in November 2019, of course. And then, so I kept talking to Ron on runs, and, you know, during runs, you can try and get people to almost commit to almost anything. So during the runs, Ron's like, yeah, you know, we're going to do it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So finally I got tired of and I'm like, how can I get Ron really on board with this? And Ron was on board as far as the mental health, but because of his work and things of that nature, he has a very busy schedule. He was like, look, we'll do it. And then, you know, another month passed. So what I did was, for my 48th birthday, Ron said, what do you want to do for your birthday, old head? And I'm like, yo, I said, we've been talking about it. Let's host a run. He's like, that's what you want to do for your birthday? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any idea of what I was doing. I went out to Kelly Drive, ran out 2.5 miles. Just so happens that that the Girard Avenue Bridge, I believe, is there.
Mhm.
And there's a parking lot there. I had my wife set up with a cooler with refreshments and Gatorade and water, and ran there and back. And what we did was what happened was, this was 3 months into COVID. This was July of 2019. It was my actual birthday, July 26th. We had 12 all guys. I had reached out to people with different fitness levels and different fitness journeys in their life. And 12 guys. There were a lot of obstacles, to be honest with you, Aaron. We were 3 months into the pandemic. We were dealing with everything with the George Floyd protests that were in full swing. We were also dealing with the first presidential campaign, dealing with Trump and Biden at the time. And then myself personally, I was dealing with a bout of Bell's palsy, which is a temporary paralysis of the seventh cranial nerve. And I just felt as though any obstacle that was placed, the message was a lot more powerful. So we went ahead and did it. And, we're blessed to be here 5 years later, and that's how Swagga House Run Club started.
And I'm going to come back to this full circle, but being able to start Swagga House Run Club from that empowered you, and to kind of almost carry on Dante's legacy. And was there any moment where, like, did you ever doubt yourself of like, I can't?
I think the very first event that we had, like I said, there were 12 people, 12 guys. Some people had masks on. We didn't know what to expect, and the only way that we would move forward, honestly, was depending on what the feedback was. And all of the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Like some of the participants, and I call them the original 12, they were just like, when are we going to do this again? We need to do this more often. And from there, it just became a monthly thing. Yeah. And that's why we do the Sunday mornings. We stayed true to that. And that was the grassroots. That was the foundation. Yeah. So we stayed to Sunday mornings. And I never doubted it, because I just, no matter what you have, when you have obstacles in front of you, you can either avoid them, you can go around them, or you can crash through them. Yeah. And I just want to crash through them, because I think that obstacles are meant to fall, and they're there for a reason. It's a test to see if you're really true to what your purpose is. And, my purpose, and the purpose of Swagga House Run Club is to bring together the community, is to talk about, mental health through movement. It's to show support. It's to allow people to be vulnerable in these public spaces. It's to share your story, to find strength in other people's story. And so, to be honest with you, no, I'll continue to show up as my true and authentic self. And my purpose is, my wife always tells me, Josh, your purpose is much greater and you don't even realize it. And, even sitting here right now, I just feel as though it's the right thing to do. So, I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I think that this is just the way that life is supposed to be. People are supposed to uplift one another. I think that you only rise by uplifting others. Some people take a $20 bill, for instance. I always use this. You take a $20 bill, you can ball it up, you can step on it, it can fall in a parking lot and fall in a grease spot, but the worth never changes. And that's a lot of people's lives. Sometimes you just got to dust them off, and you have to allow them hear their story. And I'm gonna continue to show up as long as I'm on God's green earth. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. That was also the perfect segue, because you were the recipient of the Fox 29 Your Awesome Award.
Yes.
And truly being an awesome human being. How did that feel going in there that day, and then just having your community rally around you?
So I was completely surprised. Jason Martinez from Fox 29 was a little late getting there. And when I walked in, I had no idea what was going on. But I think that what gets lost in it is my wife is the one that nominated me. We've been together 25 years, married 20. And we just renewed our vows, our 20th year anniversary. But for her to still think that I'm awesome after 20 years, I think that's the real prize. But, I always say I might be the leader, or to a certain degree, Ron and I may be the face of Swagga House Run Club. But it's anytime that we win an award or we're honored in any way, it's because of our support system and the people, the leaders. Brian, Diana, Mach, Eddie Gonzalez. I mean, so it's not just us; it's everyone who shows up to Swagga House. People who don't show up, who just repost something. People who just reach out and say, "Hey, I wish I could have made it. I wasn't able to make it." So it's never about me. It's always about us. So yeah, but yeah, it was amazing. I guess I told Jason, I guess it pays to be awesome. I don't know.
Absolutely, but Jason, he said when I watched the video back over, and your community seeing like you have a heart of gold, and you truly do. One of the things that you mentioned, your grandmother, who is still with us, 101 years old.
Yes,
that is a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.
She said, "You may not be rich monetarily, but you will be rich in other ways."
Yeah, she instilled that in me at a very early age. Money was never what she thrived success on.
Yeah.
It was about how you made people feel. And I'm going to share the story. It's like it's kind of weird. It's weird, but it's not. So it's like, it's so minimal. So we had neighbors who were, they were struggling a little bit. And I remember my grandmother, the one thing my grandmother did, because she was old school, was every single week she had a budget and we didn't have a car. My uncle would take her food shopping, and every week she'd go to Pathmark and buy groceries, and you have a home cooked meal. So a couple of times, my favorite cookies, she would share them with the neighbors. And, I was a kid, so I'm like, why is she sharing my cookies, Yeah. And now I know why she shared the cookies. Later on, it's simple, but it has such a deep meaning. And from there, when I asked her about it, she said, one day you'll realize you won't be rich monetarily and money, but you will be rich in other ways. And to be honest with you, with the love and support and the community that I'm a part of, I just feel like I'm the wealthiest man in the world. So she was right.
Yeah. I want to say to me, you are definitely one of the wealthiest men
Thank
in the
you,
world,
thank
dude.
you.
The love and support that you have from your community around you, from myself, from your family, man, it's like an overflow and outpouring of just love and support. But that's because you show up authentically every single day. You show up as you create the space for people to just be themselves. And that goes a long way. One of the things I talk about is kind of nurturing that inner child within. And one of the things that I've realized, it took a while for me to love every part of me and every version of me. And I want to say, through meeting you and so many other people within the running community, I've been able to love those parts of me a little bit more, and being able to step into that unapologetically. And it was so much strength and so much courage. And going back to you forming this community around you and you receiving this award, your awesome award, dude, you really are, because you don't understand the impact of how you can change someone's life. And I think that is what the younger version of me needed. The younger version of me needed a Joshua Perez to let me know that everything was going to be okay, to make me feel heard and seen and safe, and that my opinions and my thoughts and my hobbies and my activities and things that I was interested in mattered. And you do that today. You really do.
Thank you.
Like, even just sitting here having a conversation, like you and I can talk about anything. Honestly, like this conversation, like, yeah, there's a format, there's an outline, but it can take on a world of its own. Yeah. And that's one of the things when you walk into Philadelphia Runner, when I see you at different run clubs, like when I see you and I spot you from across the room, I know there is love there.
Yeah, thank you.
And that makes it goes a long way. Dude. It's a true testament of who you are and just the community that you have formed and the love that you have around you.
Thank you. I Dante, to be quite honest, because of the relationship that I had with someone who was biracial and openly gay, Swagga House Run Club wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that relationship. And I to this day, back to full circle moment, you use that a lot on your podcast, and this is a full circle moment. People never, a lot of times they forget what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. Dante, the very first conversation I had with Dante, he felt compelled because he had felt so much, he had dealt with so much discrimination in his life to actually open up and say, hey, I'm gay. And, you know, I don't know, my exact, I'll never forget, I looked at him and I said, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. And his eyes, to this day, I didn't know what it meant. Now I do. But then I didn't know. His eyes just got so big. And it was almost like he couldn't believe that he was accepted for his true self. Yeah. My daughter's gay. A lot of people don't know that, but my daughter's gay. And, you know, I don't know how you devalue someone. Be yourself. So my daughter never had to deal with that. So, you know, I don't know any other way but to love people for who they are, to be honest with you. And, you know, sadly, you know, Dante, he was enrolled in a master's program at Westchester. He had, I mean, I would tell him all the time, I said, you know, I never say the sky's the limit, because that's actually like cutting you short, because you're the stratosphere, the universe, like, this, he was just an amazing soul and just such a beautiful mind. And tragically we lost him, but you know, he left me with something, and you know, with a purpose, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm happy that you're here too, man. I getting back to your point of when Dante said that he was gay, and you were like, you don't care.
No, I said with my and I'll never forget that. I said, who gives a fuck? I mean,
because his eyes getting wide, and you seeing that. Yeah, I think because sometimes if you're not met with, or if you don't have like a very accepting or open family or like friend or community around you, sometimes you can still have a little bit of that fear of just telling and sharing your truth to someone else. Yeah, and automatically feeling rejected. Just by saying like, hey, I'm telling you who I choose to love. Right. You know, and I think about that sometimes, like, how can you reject someone just because of, and turn someone away just because of who they choose to love? Like, that is something.
I know, I can tell you from conversation I had with Dante, you know, when he came out, his father was a very religious man, and wasn't supportive. Yeah. He went to the military, you know, he dealt with don't ask, don't tell. So coming into the profession, you know, I think that he thought he was going to be met with the same type of discrimination. Yeah. And when we had that conversation, from there sparked a friendship, you know, almost like I said, because I was 20, I'm 20 years older than him, and I was on the job for 20 years at that time. It just became a very, very tight bond.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, man, I need to take a second to just kind of form my thoughts, because so much healing is actually happening right here during this conversation too. I want you to know that.
I knew that this conversation would be deep.
Yeah, so I got to take a second. But getting back to receiving that award, that your awesome award, which was very much deserved.
Thank you.
100%. So you're still showing up for your community. You know, you are making Dante proud. You know, you make yourself proud every day.
Thank you.
What is your hope that Swagga House continues to be for people who sometimes only have movement as a form of therapy and as an outlet?
Honestly, the relationships, aside from just, you know, there's more to a run club. You know, a lot of people say run family. I never use that. I think that, you know, when you say family, it's family. Because to me, I think that family word is a strong word. And you don't diminish it by putting a label in front or categorizing it. It's just family. That's it. So, you know, to see the relationship continue to grow, to see that it continues to be a safe space for people, a place where people can continue to come and be their authentic selves. That's how I judge, you know, I think that just that's the reward, you know, just seeing people authentically themselves, not allowing anything or anyone to devalue them, you know, and just, it's just, man, I just love, you know, people, man. I just, I don't know what else to say. Like, I think, you know, a lot of people, just as long as that message of love, hope, support, community, bridging gaps, bringing people together, as long as that continues to echo those sentiments, I think that's you know, success enough for me, to be honest with you.
I believe it will, Josh. Yeah, it would always echo.
Thank you.
You know, getting back to the saying, run community, all love. That's what we say first. Like your resilience and being, you know, that awesome person. I kind of want to go back to 2023, losing the late police sergeant Christopher Fitzgerald of the Temple University Police Department.
Yeah.
On February 18th, 2023. You and I were having conversations months prior in 2022, remember, like around November, December, about putting on a Swagga House and Chasing Trail event.
Yeah.
And the event fell on Sunday, February 19th.
Yes.
The day after.
Yeah.
Walk me through that and
Well,
how you still showed up that morning.
Like I said, I'll try to hold it together. But so Chris was one of the original 12 that showed up on 7/26/2020. He and I this was another tight bond that I had. He was like a little brother because he has a wife and he has 4 children. So it was a completely different relationship than I had with Dante, because Dante was more of a father-son relationship. And Chris was his own man. Not to say that Dante wasn't, but it was just a different family dynamic for Chris. But, you know, a lot of people don't know Chris helped fill some of the void that was left in my life when I lost Dante. So, you know, it struck me. It was hard, but being there for someone I consider my little sis. She's always like big bro. Marissa, his widow. You know, I got the phone call and we rushed to Temple. And, you know, I don't want to get into all the details, but, you know, when I got to Temple, the first thing that Marissa said was, she said, "Big bro, you know, we were supposed to go to the run tomorrow." And, you know, dealing with the situation and not knowing what her husband's status was at the time. And that was the first thing that she said to me as she gave me a hug and cried on my shoulder. At that point, she wanted an update and she wanted to know what the status, how he was doing. She was taken into a room. She just wanted, at the time, his parents were and making their way from Colorado. So she asked that my wife, myself, and their grandmother be in the room with her and the doctor as she got the news. We had received the news, and I was the only male in the room, so I had to hold it together and just hold her tight when she got the news. So that was a really rough thing for me to deal with. But I knew that she needed the support more than I did. So we were in the hospital for hours after this and, you know, dealing with everything. His parents, when they landed, the first thing his father, at that point, I was, you know, the actual run event was secondary. I wasn't, you know, I knew we had the event, but it was like, you know, it was foggy. It was like, you know, all the details and everything. So when his Chris's parents came, his mother told me, you know, Chris was going to go to the run tomorrow. Then his father gave me a hug, and when he hugged me, he said, "I don't need to tell you how Chris felt about you. You know." And he was going to go to the run tomorrow. At that point, I had to make the decision to go ahead and move forward with the event because Chris would have wanted it that way. And I stayed at the hospital until probably 5:30, ran home real quick, took a shower, and then showed up for, you know, for the event, you know, without Chris on my side as he's been at every other event. But, you know, rallied around the support, finding strength in the support in the run community. And, you know, and we had that. It was somber, but it was meaningful. And, you know, we just wanted to honor Chris. And so that's why I showed up. And that's why we had to continue moving forward.
And one of the things that I really love that you did that day, that morning, we had a moment of silence.
Yeah.
And you could tell that you were holding back tears, but then there was a moment where you just let them all out.
Yeah.
And you said, you want people to know that it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
That has stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
To just realize it's okay to not be okay. You were, In that moment, you were holding and carrying something so deep, grief and loss and pain. And I think back on it today of how courageous you were to be able to still stand up and have this event, honoring Chris. And one of the things that I know when you're hosting a Swagga House run, holding the flag in Chris's honor, and you say, live like Chris.
Yeah.
And what way did Chris live and care and treat those around him and see the world through his eyes? And we live like that. Like when you say live like Chris, what does that mean?
The meaning behind that is just to treat everyone with respect. And one of the things, man, Chris is just at the end of every event, he would call me and he would say, "Big bro, this was the best one yet." And I mean, every single time. And he's like, "I know you're tired of hearing it." And every month. So, but the thing, Chris had this special gift. He can get conversation out of anyone, no matter what walk of life you were from, no matter what your background was, profession, no matter what, he could get conversation out of you. And I would always tap in with him because I knew he would get feedback. And I wanted feedback about the event so that we can move forward, but we can tweak some things and make it a better experience for everyone. Yeah. So Chris was really that bridging gap for me, because I was, like you said earlier, I, worry about the front of the pack, the back of the pack, the middle of the pack. So, I didn't have like the time to sit there and have, extensive conversation with just one or two people. I was, just making sure that everyone was seen and everyone was heard and things of that nature. So, yeah, Chris, that's what Live Like Chris is. Chris was an amazing soul, man. He was just a shining light, on your darkest times. And we normalized one of the things that I always carry with me. We normalized saying "I love you." Two men just saying at the end of the conversation, it was like, "Little bro, I love you," and he'd say, "Big bro, love you too." And sometimes, talking to people. I was just talking to someone, Josh, who lives in Rhode Island. He's he's the founder of Rhode Island, of the Wave Runners in Rhode Island, and he just shared with me. He said, someone heard me say "I love you" when I got off the phone, and they know who I was talking to, because the only other person I say that to is my son, and and it's deep, but there's nothing wrong with it. I think we need to normalize saying "I love you" and letting people know how we truly feel about them, because you never know. It may be the last time. A lot of times when I go to events, I want to take a picture with someone. Yeah. Hey, you never know. This person may not be here tomorrow, or some tragic accident can happen. I don't like to live that way, but I always want to remember that moment. So, and just memorialize that that interaction with that person. So, yeah, Chris is he's deeply missed, man. He's deeply missed by so many people. Yeah. I think that although that was one of the hardest, that was by far the hardest event that I had to host, along with the Swagga House crew and Chasing Trail, of course, Gary and those guys. But I could tell you that time after was a lot harder, because and when we're talking about vulnerability, this is one of those times. For instance, I kind of had a mindset where with Chris's passing, was that I've been through this grieving process before, so I know what to expect. I know the different phases. I know the anger phase. I know all these different phases and these layers. And what really hurt me the most was that that loss was a completely different grieving process. And I had to come to realization with that. And I put that grieving on a back burner because I needed to be there for, his family, for Marissa and the kids and, the parents and things of that nature. But then I had to realize, hey, Josh, you can't be that support system for people if you're not okay. So I needed to make sure that I was also taking care of myself. So, but that was the roughest part, was, the grieving process. I'm still dealing with grieving because of that, but that's why I always tell people, make memories, man, with people along the way. Listen to people. When I was much younger and a lot less experienced, I had an individual who would come to our family functions. And, back in my day, and, I was younger, I didn't want to hear that. I'm like, oh man, we're going to talk about back in the day.
Yeah.
And the one day he pulled me aside and he said to me, he said, Josh, I asked him, I said, why are you always talking about back in the day? And what he said to me stuck with me. He said, when you get my age, when you're younger at the age you're at, continue to make memories, because when you're my age, that's all you have to live off of, because you're not as mobile, you're not as healthy. And that stuck with me ever since then. So, if I can bring light to people when I show up at these events and things of that nature, then, you never know who's watching. So,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. How do you show up in those moments where you're not feeling 100%? When you say that it's okay to not be okay, when you're not okay, what are those things that you're allowed to kind of that centers you back to yourself to be able to show for your community?
Honestly, I prioritize myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, at one point I thought that was kind of selfish of me.
Yeah.
But, the runs at 5 a.m. by myself, or, Sunday, when you see me post on Instagram on my story and I'm by myself, that's my healing time. That's my time. Sadly, the person that now, Aaron, is not the person I was, years and years ago. I didn't love myself as much as I do now. I was surrounded by negativity and I grew up in a negative environment. Not at home with my grandmother, but outside those walls, outside of the home. I didn't really value alone time, because I didn't like the person I was to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And then getting in this community, it changed my life, because I've come in contact with so many people from so many different walks of life. Are you familiar with Rebecca?
Yeah.
So Becca, for instance, she never understood. I would say to her, I'm like, you're not real, because where we come from,
Mm-hmm.
If someone's that nice to you, you're like at a point where it's like you're side eye and you're like, what does this person want? Like there's something. And she didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. And she had one day she sent me a meme. It's so funny. She sent me this reel, and it was a new neighbor moved into a neighborhood, and this individual comes over with apple pie and welcomes him to the neighborhood. Yeah. And the person just pulls all the shades down. It's like, well, what do you, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And she was like, Josh, that simple thing there just remind me of what you said. Now I understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And just the love of the community, man, just being in company of some of the most amazing people. And I just think that, running, runners have some of the most inspirational stories, mm-hmm. and it needs to be shared. Yeah. It truly, truly needs to be shared. So I'm just in awe of the people that I've come in contact and the people that I've gotten to build these relationships and friendships with. So, I'm forever grateful to Dante for putting me on this journey, and, and to the running community, to Swagga House Run Club, to the run community. So, forever it's going to be run community all love.
always and forever is going to be that.
Yes.
I want to say thank you so much for just showing up and investing into me, investing in the community once again, but particularly on that day in February 19th. Thank you for just showing up and saying that it's okay to not be okay.
Thank you.
You don't understand how that inspired me to just continue, because I had just started a new role with a company at that time. And I had so much imposter syndrome. Right. I really did. I was like, I can't do this. When I was hired, there was a part of me that didn't believe that it was real.
Right.
But when you asked me if we could partner together for this event, I was like, okay, I can do this because Josh is going to be there. Josh believes in me, and it was nice to reflect on that. I'm like, Josh believes in me. I can do this. Gary believes in me. We can put on this event. But I had so much imposter syndrome getting this job that I just didn't know how to show for the community. But there was the other side that was like, you got this. Like, you're here for a reason. But when I had started working On in November 2022. And I had also earlier that year helped the friends launch a running group within the Philadelphia running community. And they're the founder of this group. And me and the friend at the time, we were both up for that same position. And I was motivating them. It seemed as though that they were encouraging me. And there was an event that happened within the group where I had made a joke that, and when I think back on it, it was like, okay, I could have probably worded that a little bit differently, but I was very excited for just finding out that I had got accepted. They wanted me to be in this position, but thinking back on it, it definitely could have been worded differently for sure. But that person who I thought was a friend, who I did not know that there was an issue with me saying that joke at that time, had went to the company and told them that I wasn't inclusive, that I pretty much didn't deserve this opportunity.
Wow.
Um, and took it to social media and blasted the company. And from that, I found it so difficult to show up for the community in general, because every event that I would host, or even if it wasn't for me, I would show up for Philly United or something for you, I would automatically in the back of my mind think, do they know what happened? Are they kind of like, okay, this is the guy with that company. Oh, he's non-inclusive, and to be told that you're non-inclusive, to be told that your story doesn't matter, to be told that I don't understand queer struggles, and helping start a group that was queer, it was for the queer community, and being told that I'm not friendly to that community because of a joke that I had made. And this is the thing where I think that as human beings and as people, we need to extend grace and love to people. And if, hey, like something rubs you the wrong way, or you don't understand someone, like, let's have a conversation about it. I never got that opportunity. So showing up to that event on February 19th, and you were carrying Chris's death, seeing you still get out there inspired me to just continue to show up after the situation with me and this running group leader at that time had occurred, because I had so much imposter syndrome. And I was like, I cannot show up for the community at all. They are going to think that I'm a fraud. Also, I'm not inclusive. Just all these things in the back of my mind, just playing over and over in my head. I can't do this. And you got up there on a very difficult, tragic day. And that stuck with me for my duration with this company. And that's why I wanted to sit here and just thank you for that, because you saying it's okay to not be okay, but just seeing your resilience and the strength and the courage that you had to get up there and just let us know, like, hey, I'm not in the best state of mind, but I'm still going to get out here and we're going to honor Chris. We're going to honor Swagga House. We're going to honor Dante. That allowed me and fueled me to still show up and be like, hey, I can beat this. And not to invalidate my own experience, but you were carrying something and holding something so much heavier than, kind of this betrayal in a way. I just want to thank you, Josh, because that really allowed me to unlock this part of myself where I was like, if Josh can do this in the wake of tragedy and loss, I can also show up for my community in the best possible way, because you're doing it. So when you say run community all love, I want you to know that that love that you had up there on that day, February 19th, to trickle down to me to love myself more and to invest more into my community, even if one person wasn't investing into me and someone felt completely different.
Right.
That's the thing.
Thank you for sharing that. You never know, when you share your story, who's listening, who's watching. I didn't know that I had that all these years later. I didn't know that me being there had that much of an impact on you. And that's exactly what it's about. You never know who's watching. You never know, by being you, by showing up, by sharing your story, who's going to be impacted by it. And it goes back to, it's a full circle moment. And it goes back to, people remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So,
You made me feel safe.
Yeah.
And I still feel safe, It's definitely something that is still kind of difficult to talk about in a way, because at the end of the day, like, I try to just be gracious and be able to tell the story in a way that doesn't villainize anyone truly. But I just wanted to share that because you definitely inspired me and allowed me to show up for my community.
I could say this. Anyone who knows you knows your heart. And that speaks volumes. And it's always about communication.
Yeah.
If there was a conversation that was had, that maybe that situation wouldn't have went or lasted as long as it did, or it didn't have to go where it went. It's about communication. And a lot of times it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. So I think that, sometimes we value certain relationships. I just had this conversation the other day. Sometimes people, they feel as though, like, I have friends who I've known for years, right? And you almost feel like you have to be committed to the longevity of a friendship. And it doesn't have to be that way. Because I know people for, a year that I'm closer with, they played that part during that time of your life. And, that's what people, you don't have to just be because you've known someone for so long. And if, I'll be quite honest, if the person isn't willing to get to know me as the person, then, maybe they're not worth my time. So I could say personally, I think that people should just make their opinion through their experiences with that person. If someone said to me, Aaron this, and I'm like, well, that's not my experience with them. Maybe you need to have a conversation with Aaron to really understand what he meant, or, what the topic was. So I kind of wish I was in that conversation more, just because I think sometimes I think because of my age too, I get a little bit more respect, or people are a little bit more willing to listen to me because of that. But like I said, your heart. And so many people know your heart and have so much love for you, and continue doing what you're doing, and and never discount your value for anyone, or anything.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Josh.
Definitely.
It's
almost like a therapy session.
It is like, wow, I'm going to bill you. You bill me after this. Okay. So wrapping up, getting towards the end of our conversation. I mean, I wish I had so much more time and continue to go on. But one of the things you touched on was you starting the Smiles and Miles segments.
Smiles, and Stories.
Smiles, and Stories.
Yes.
And hearing people's why and why they run, why they show for their community, why they're involved with movement, even if it's not or movement or fitness, just why they are who they are.
Yeah.
How does that motivate you to continue to be there for those around you after hearing their stories? Because we can always have a takeaway from someone, that perspective shift and understanding what someone has gone through, and being able to show up differently in your life.
I think so. I'm just like, I'm just so amazed by some people's stories and their why. And I just think it needs to be documented, right? We go out, Philly 10K, we started with that, right? But how many people did you know that were in the corrals? A lot. How many of their whys do you really know or remember? And I think that it just needs to be talked about. And then, sometimes with a podcast, for instance, you don't have an hour and a half to sit there, or you have to fragment and listen to the podcast in fragments, because I gotta, life happens, right? So I was like, you know what? Just getting to know people, like almost like, you'll have like, some people do like the real quick questions, like the what are they called?
Like rapid fire questions.
Yeah, rapid fire. Like, and I was like, you know what? Let's just kind of do that, but let's do it. But let's be amazed at people's why. So when you see someone, sometimes like even traveling, for instance, I went to Rhode Island, and I went to Brooklyn for the half marathon. That was more recent. And there was someone there from the Philly running community that I've had conversation with. And I'm like, you know what? There may be someone else that showed up here. And then now they kind of feel connected to that person, not only because they're from Philly, but they know their why. And they might come up to that person, because there's been times where someone will say, hey, I saw you somewhere, but I didn't come up to you because whatever the case may be. And it's like, I feel comfortable enough coming up with you. And then also people want to share their story. You don't know who's listening. You don't know who can relate to that why, and then, it's no one alone. No one should be alone. So your story resonates with so many other people, and you just don't know it. It just has to be documented and put out there for people to hear it. So, I've said that. I said the people in the running community, some people, and just walking, because at the group events that we do, we have people, I call them the chill squad. They're in the back, like just chilling, walking, because they want to be in, in the environment and the atmosphere, and they're very much a part of it. It's not just a run. It may be a run club, but it's not a run event. It's a group event, and just hearing people's why is just like, to me, I never get enough of it. So I just felt I wanted to share that with people. And, I'm going to continue to do the, I'm having such a good time, man, doing this Smiles and Stories. I think it's amazing.
Dude, I always tune in. Every time I'm like, okay, stop whatever I'm doing at that moment. I'm on the train. I have to listen. I'm like, oh, okay, noise cancellation headphones, please. I need to listen in and lock in. But and
then you see someone, right? You're like, yo, I've seen her at a run, or I've seen him. So, and you feel a little bit more connected. So that's about bridging those gaps and building community. That's what it's all about.
And it makes you feel like you know them in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've met every single person that you have had on so far, but even if I haven't, it's something that you can appreciate about that person. So when you finally do meet them, you're like, oh, wow, it almost kind of like bonds you in a way. It has that connection.
Right.
And I really do love that you do that, because you're asking questions that really have to make people think.
Yeah.
Like what is your why? And I was thinking about this too. We were talking about it. Sometimes when I see you interview people and you're like, okay, like what is your why? How do you show up? I'm like, man, like what is my why? Like I feel like my why is constantly changing.
You got to be ready, because I'm going to pull up. Be ready. No, I'm going to pull up.
I'm going to have cue cards. Someone in the bush is holding cue cards. Okay, there it is. Like Josh pointing the camera that way. But I love what you're doing, man. And I feel like so many people resonate with that. I always just look at the comments. Anytime you post something, I know it's going to be impactful. I know it's going to be powerful.
Thank you. I think that it's, and me being older, I didn't grow up on social media. So it's new for me. When we started Swagga House Run Club, we were trying to right before Ron and I were sitting in the car after a run, he's like, all right, you know what? You want to do this for your birthday? We're going to do it. And he said to me, Josh, you're going to have to run a social media page, the IG page. And I'm like, yeah, that's nothing. I said, yeah, I got that. Yeah. And I didn't, and I'm like, these young kids, they're making a living off.
100.
And I'm like, there's no way it takes that much time. Now I know.
Yeah.
So, just for me to find something, and it's like, the thing is, there's like the way that I do it, I just do it. It's like raw. It's in your face. There's no budget. There's no studio. There's not scripted answers. It's like out in the community somewhere or at an event. And I just felt it needed to be done, and I'm having fun with it though. I really am. Even my wife tunes it. She's like, when you doing the next Mile Story? My daughter's like, I'm not a runner. You need to do me, So
dude, before you know, you're gonna have everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I love it. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I feel like the community needs that.
Yeah,
we need more people to facilitate these type of conversations and facilitate that type of vulnerability. Just asking a simple question as to why, and you can learn so much. Asking why, it opens up a conversation. It opens up so many doors of okay, where can this go?
Yeah. And
you can have, once again, that takeaway from someone, that perspective of I didn't even, and sometimes, if the person feels comfortable enough to get vulnerable and get deep, it's I didn't even know that was your why, or that sparked you into movement.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love, even just with doing this podcast, is and we're able to sit here and just chat for an hour and a half, 2 hours. That means so much to me.
Definitely.
It's I see you, there's this exterior for people who don't really get the chance to know you on that level. And it's okay, here's Josh. He's the leader of Swagga House, and he's so strong. He's running through with the flag and energy. You're coming up and you're dapping people up. But this is a moment of vulnerability where wow, there's so much to a human being. We're so complex individuals. And making people feel safe, once again, back to you, and just that you're awesome segment. I'm going to tell you again, you're awesome. And, the run community all love, because you're allowing people to feel comfortable and giving them permission to just say what it is that they're feeling from the heart. Yeah. Like you said, it's not scripted. You don't want scripted.
No,
you
not
want
at all.
raw truth. You want them in their truest, most authentic, most rawest form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even pictures, I love candid photos.
Yeah.
When you're not expecting it, that's when the true emotion is really caught. I know you asked me earlier, Run Community All Love, where did it come from? Mm-hmm. So it actually started at Philly United, the very first one, before they moved it on the second floor for the leaders. Mm-hmm. And I just got up there and I gave a little bit of a testimony, and then I was Run Community All Love. And from there, it sparked it. And then what I realized was we get a lot of support from a lot of other groups. Yeah. And for them to chant Swagga House Run Club, I want them to feel like they're a part of it. So Run Community All Love encapsulates everyone. It just brings everyone into the fold. Yeah. And what is it about? It's about, showing love to one another, right? So it just goes. It's just natural. Run Community All Love. And so that's how it really started, This conversation has been like amazing. I don't want it to end, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But
See,
one of the things I want to say, like as far as like running, you know, why I hear people, like I tell people, I say, you know, running sucks sometimes, you know, and people need to hear that because some people sometimes are like, you know, what do you like so much about it? Sometimes I hate it. I'm like, yo, this sucks. But I know what it does for me, and I know how it feels, how I'm going to feel afterward. And I just, you know, I think that people need to really focus not on the physical, and that's what the main thing is, to highlight the mental health aspect of it, the therapeutic benefits and the escape that it provides. But more importantly, you run to lose your mind and find your soul.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
Yeah. Just moving in general in fitness encompasses so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I do like cycle bar classes, and the instructor sometimes will turn off all of the lights. And it's interesting because they'll, you know, have these mantras. They'll just say like, hey, you got this. Keep pushing. Whatever is holding you back, release it. Whatever you need to get through your day, bring that in and breathe. And we'll do breath work. We'll do like a meditation. And I've cried in some of those classes.
Yeah, definitely. I understand. You know, I say a lot of times, if you want to fly, you got to let the things go that weigh you down. And I think that that's an important thing to carry with you during your lifetime. You know, if you want to fly, you got to let everything go that weighs you down.
Have you ever, I'm kind of curious, have you ever cried like during a run or like after a
100%.
run? Yeah.
100%. And it happens more often than you know. 100%. Yeah. I think about the journey. I think about the losses. I think about the sacrifices I've made. And you know what? Before you know we end this, my wife is the real MVP because she sacrifices a lot. There's a lot of time that goes into spending in the running community for me, and she holds it down. And you know, she's like super supportive. Ron, you know, using his successful name behind the brand, and you know, it's just. So yeah, I cry a lot. I cry. I'm like the Allen Iverson of the running community. I cry quite a bit. Every press conference, I'll probably shed a tear. Yeah.
I mean, we cried a lot during this episode. Yeah, so much. But Josh, once again, I really appreciate your entire being. I do not take you for granted at all.
I appreciate it, and you know, the feelings are 100% mutual. I love you, and thank you for being you. Continue to be you, and keep shining like that bright star you are. Thanks, appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Final two questions as we wrap up. We have about like 20, maybe like 15 minutes left.
Okay.
With all that I don't want to say accomplished, because you know, starting a running club, that takes work.
Yeah.
You know, a running and
it wasn't me by myself, it's Ron as well.
Yeah. So you and Ron and sitting back and reflecting on everything that you both have accomplished. What does like living in the present now mean to you when you reflect back on everything, when you reflect back on, you know, those moments with Dante, those moments with Chris, and living like Chris, and forming Swagga House with Ron, and how you're showing up now?
It's just it's built these amazing relationships and bonds, and you know, sadly, you know, death happens, and I've been a support system for quite a few people who've had loss, and you know, and I share my story with them. So you know, just the fact that, you know, Run Community All Love is becoming a thing where other people are saying it. You know, it's you know, when you create something and you see it like start to take shape and form, and people are starting to really buy into it, and you know, not by just the words but by the actions, it's an amazing feeling. Like, and it's not me, it's the community, it's the people who believe in the message, you know. So yeah, I'm just overwhelmed. I mean, I can't believe that you know, people think that I play this part, and I think that, you know, we all play a major part in what's going on here. Especially now with I think that running is a trend for a lot of people, you know, through social media and things of that nature. But you know, just always have a why. You know, what's your why? Always ask yourself and stay true to that. You know, your why can change at times, but stay true to that grassroots, that foundation. And you know, and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that our community will resonate with that very deeply.
Yeah.
Too. So as we wrap up, do you want to plug in any upcoming Swagga House events, runs?
Yeah. So
What do you have on the horizon?
yeah. So
Personally?
next month, I'm working on the Hispanic Heritage Month run. So I'm working on a business. Hopefully, they can host it. So we'll be doing that. But also, Ron is just an innovator and a creator, and we just closed the showcase on Fifth and Cecil B. Moore, but opened up a bigger spot over in Franklin Mills Mall area where he's looking to host expos and conventions and a retail shop and also tattoo chair sharing network as well. Yeah, just follow us on IG. And there's a lot of things coming in the future. Yeah.
I can't wait. It's exciting.
Definitely,
I can't wait.
Definitely.
Do you want to drop in the IG for people who don't follow you already?
Yeah, it's Swagga House. It's spelled SW. I always mess this up. SWAGGA _ house HOUSE _ run RUN _ club CLUB.
There we go, baby. Perfect. Josh, this has been a true honor.
The honor's all mine.
Once you said it, like a therapy session, it was perfect. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit down with me and just chat and catch up and to get to allow me to get to know you a little bit more and to be able to and for me to be able to share a little bit more about myself.
Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for sharing your story as well. Like we've had the conversation in the past. Your story needs, you may be the host of this podcast, but your story needs to be shared as well. And you never know who that might help along the way, so that no one feels alone.
Thank you, buddy. All right, man. This is the end.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of A Squared Conversation. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. And we hope that you have an amazing day.
Run community, all love.
Run community, all love.